and welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining us on our first alumni webinar. Very exciting. So my name's Siobhan, for anyone that doesn't know me. I can see some familiar names on the call, and hopefully maybe there'll be familiar faces later if you guys want to ask Grant a question towards the end. But my name's Siobhan. I am the Alumni Relations Manager at All Hands and Hearts, and I'm the person who sends you guys the fortnightly emails. I run the alumni network. I feel like I live there sometimes. So if ever you're on there, do come and say hello. Yeah, I see my job really as a way to keep our alumni community connected with All Hands and Hearts. So a lot of you guys on the call will either have volunteered with us, maybe you've worked with us before, and you've seen this message on our social media or in our newsletters. This is one of the ways I see it as a good way to try and keep our alumni community connected to All Hands and Hearts and connected to each other. So as I said, remember my face. Do feel free to pop by and have a chat with me on the alumni network, or if there's any way you think I can help you now that you've left program. If you'd like to know more about the alumni network, just throw me a message on there. I'll put all the links in the chat towards the end of the call, and you can always email me at alumni@allhandsandhearts.org. But here with me today in the lovely high vis that he has on live from New Zealand. So it's actually Thursday. So it's Thursday the 6th in New Zealand.
Friday.
Oh,
Friday morning.
I've lost
Friday morning.
a full day. Yeah, Friday the 6th for Grant. So Grant is in New Zealand. He is our guest star today of the alumni networks, of the alumni webinar. So Grant, I know Grant personally. Grant and I worked together in Sinduli, Nepal. I think I saw some names from Nepal in the chat. I know there's a couple of Sinduligans, as we like to call ourselves, on the chat. So Grant and I worked together in Sinduli, Nepal, where Grant was our project coordinator and I was the volunteer engagement coordinator. Happy memories. And then Grant has also worked with us supporting the project development team in Mexico, and he was the project manager in Mozambique. And I know there's some people from the Mozambique program in the call as well. Am I missing anything there, Grant? Is that your all hands?
All hands wise, that's it. Yeah, that's my contribution, I think.
Beautiful, and a great contribution it was as well. So yeah, some really varied work there from Grant. And just a little bit of a background for you guys that's joining us. We've never done one of these calls before. We've never done an alumni webinar. So just to explain a bit where that idea came from, maybe some of you joined us on the, oh, sorry, we've just got someone I need to let in. Oh dear, sorry guys. I'm being a techno wizard. I just need to admit someone there. Someone else is wanting in. Yes, so we, you might have joined us for our virtual events that we were hosting when All Hands and Hearts had our temporary suspension. So maybe you joined us for the webinars we had for Professional Development Week, or maybe you joined us for Eat with Friends or Come Learn with Me. We've realised that as a community, we really like staying connected with each other, keeping in contact, but also that, you know, we've got such a wealth of experience amongst our community, and we can really help each other share skills and learn from each other's experience, help each other's network. So as we boost that broad range of experience, we thought about hosting an alumni webinar series where we can keep people connected and also help. It means people can learn from each other. So we'll be hosting the webinars quarterly, and we'll be hearing from different members of the community once a quarter, sharing a skill, talking about their experience, maybe talking about something that they have particular knowledge in or skills in. And today, like I said, we've got Grant Clark. So thank you for coming on our first webinar, Grant. You are our guinea pig. So Grant, a bit of background with Grant, as well as working on our programs with All Hands and Hearts, he's got over 10 years experience as a chartered civil engineer. And you might have seen on the webinar sign up and the post that we were making, as well as working with us in Mexico, Nepal and Mozambique. Grant's worked across the commercial side of things, commercial infrastructure spaces, and as well in the kind of international development sector. So he's worked all over South Sudan, Dominica, Ghana, USA, the UK, Australia, and he's coming live from his native New Zealand. So he's got a real wealth of impressive experience, and Grant is going to be sharing his career journey and just discussing how he has applied his engineering skills in the non-profit sector. So we sent out a survey advance of this webinar for you guys to send in questions in advance, and we do have a couple of those. So Grant's going to answer them towards the end of the call. But if you guys have got a question at all, just feel free to say hello to Grant or pop a question in the chat box right there, and we can touch on those as we go through the call, or towards the end of the call, we will be assigning some time for you guys to feel free to come off mute, show your face, and ask Grant maybe a question that you might have personally that responds to your situation. So I think that just about explains why we're here and what we're going to do. So if we kick off, it would be great, Grant, to hear a bit more about your career journey. So could you maybe start by, if you talked us through, where did you desire to become an engineer? Where did that stem from?
Yeah, no, sounds good. Hi everybody. Thanks Siobhan for having me on here. It's awesome to be involved in the first of these series. There's so much experience across the All Hands family, so I'm sure there's some awesome conversations they're going to have. Yeah, for me, I suppose it was process of elimination at high school, and realising that the only two things I was any good at were maths and physics. So the careers lady quite quickly put a finger on it. She said, "Well, I think engineering could be your go." And then moving into the engineering field is sort of, you can get involved in the design side or construction side. And one basically said, one of them you're going to be indoors, one you're going to be outdoors. And I said, well, this is pretty obvious for me. Love sport, love being outdoors. And so, yeah, moved into construction, civil engineering. When you do the civil engineering degree in New Zealand, though, or the engineering degree, should I say, you kind of do 1 year like an intermediate year. And then you cover like 8 different areas, mechanical engineering, mechatronics, and engineering science, and computer science. And this is sort of civil engineering is one of those packages. And sort of for me, it was the idea of being outside, building stuff, that sort of physical satisfaction. So me and all my friends kind of drew towards civil engineering. But yeah, I suppose if it goes right back to the start, it'd be like as a young kid, like Lego, Meccano, that sort of stuff, building stuff, taking it apart, kicking it around, that sort of things. It was always kind of goes back to that idea of just putting things together and just being a little boy. So yeah, that's how I sort of got into the engineering as a whole.
I love it. I would love to have had that problem when I was at high school, where all I was good at was physics and math. Those are you'll remember my numbers. I have a real arithmetic issue, so I think there's worse things for those to be the only things you're good at. So I'm glad.
A few zeros were missed from time to time.
A few zeros, indeed. I'm not good at those decimals. But yeah, no, and I remember as well working with you in Nepal, and you were very much, I'm just not an office man. I want to get out. I want to get in the field. So I definitely think you've chosen the path for you. And you said there you had the civil engineering degree, so that's kind of where you started from, sort of academically wise. So where was it? Was it University of Auckland that you studied at?
Yeah, University of Auckland, and sort of because I'd spent most of my sort of growing up in New Zealand, rural New Zealand, then moving up to Auckland. So by the time I got sort of through that degree, 4 years of degree, I was 22. I was pretty keen to get out. So New Zealand's a great place, but it's also a very small place. So after doing, growing up, your high school and then your engineering degree in New Zealand, you're quite keen to move on. But like the engineering degree in New Zealand, for civil engineering particularly, there's only really sort of 2 places you can study. So it has a small country. You're isolated to Christchurch or Auckland. So I stayed at Auckland close to home. But it's a really awesome degree. And actually of all of my peers at university, civil engineering degree, only half ended up going into civil engineering. So that's sort of one really cool thing about the degree as a whole. They sort of, I think a lot of companies, whether it's management consulting or whatever else you might dive into, or client side, it's kind of got that, that lateral thinking, that problem solving skills that we pick up on the way. So it's a lot of guys did conjoint degrees with sort of commerce degrees and the economics degrees, but it was surprising actually probably half the civil engineering graduates ended up doing something else. Obviously a lot of them ended up in possibly the humanitarian sector like myself, but yeah, it opens doors in all avenues, which is pretty cool. It doesn't sort of isolate you to that one area of work. It's always in demand, which is probably the key one. I think like during recessions, which you could link that to now, that there's sort of always a big push to build more infrastructure, creates jobs, gets people moving. So that's an awesome thing. You're always going to be in work, which I've found to be the case all around the world. And it's also there's kind of an understanding for the most part that your skills are transferable, so you can pick up your engineering degree, move to the UK, move to Africa, whatever it might be, and pick up as you go. I know in some areas, for example, in law, it's a bit more complicated to just make that transition. So the only difference really being, I suppose, sometimes you go like the US, you've got the imperial system, there's the metric system, these little things you can pick up, but it's a very easy transferable degree, and it's in demand. So that's where it's been really awesome. And similarly too with the humanitarian sector as well, there's a huge amount of work, so it's been really good.
Amazing. It's so good to hear that it's so transferable, and I think that's maybe something that a lot of people don't. I know I was really young when I was thinking about going to uni, and I think you think, oh, if I go down this track, I have to be a civil engineer, or I have to. So it's great to hear that actually people that you studied with, that they're doing totally different things that they're probably enjoying just as much as well. And we were speaking, Grant, did you say you're back at Auckland, University of Auckland? Were you doing some lecturing?
Yeah, sort of done the full circle actually. Currently obviously in the high-vis, I'm doing a bit of work back on roads contracting while back in New Zealand, but I've managed to find some time. A paper that actually wasn't available when I was there, when I graduated in 2009, is there now, which is pretty awesome. It's a humanitarian engineering degree through the civil engineering faculty in the University of Auckland. And so they're looking at all sorts of areas, particularly disaster risk reduction, international development. So I got in touch with them just as a chance to like dip my toes into lecturing and postgraduate study as well. And so they said every second Friday, do you want to come in and do a bit of lecturing? So I had one last Friday and 2 Fridays before that. So it's been really cool. And it's linked very much to what we're talking about here. So I end up having conversations with all of the students whose desire is to end up in international development. So it's pretty cool talking about what their journey is going to look like and what mines look like, and also what opportunities are out there. Some of them, it's a mix of sort of fourth year engineering students and also master's students. In some cases, these master's students have got, wealth of knowledge. It's a two-way street. It's been amazing for gaining networks as well for me and getting information from these guys. And it's been a pretty complicated year, I think, for the University of Hull. Most of them are actually, so they shot back at the end of last year to have their holidays and then come back for the new year. And so they're still, all those international students are still stuck overseas. So the lecturing is not what you'd think in the traditional form. You've probably got 10-20% of the students in the class, and the rest are all online. So you end up talking to a camera as opposed to, which is obviously what we're doing here, and it works. I was going to say you're well ways to make it work. Yeah, but it's an interesting dynamic. We most of the class is not actually there. It's not quite as interactive, but it's the way of the world. So it's been really good. It's really good to get in touch with the university. A lot of the lecturers are still there. Most of them are still there. Just I think they'll be there until the end, as lecturers often do. But yeah, it was awesome to contribute in that area as well while I'm back here.
Amazing. So yeah, I mean that's it is interesting that you've, it is quite good preparation, for this chat. Would you say then that you've had time to kind of think about would you know what made you decide to work in the non-profit sector? Was there a pivotal moment, or was that something you always wanted to do? Or
yeah, through these conversations in the last few weeks, actually, I've thought about it myself, and I think it does actually tie back to there was a guest lecturer in third year of university, and it was an American guy, and it wasn't so much humanitarian work, but he went to Tanzania, and he was working with removal of toxic waste, and he was talking about all these crazy adventures and being back of a pickup truck, being driven around, all the danger, but also the opportunities and the adventures and the weekends and stuff like that. And we all kind of sat there. It was probably the most alert we'd been for the entire 4 years, and so it kind of stuck in the back of my mind. And then sort of did the engineering, bit of design, bit of construction, but there was always kind of this desire to go do something a bit more adventurous. And so it kind of kicked off in 2016, was in the UK. There was sort of a 2-month gap between projects. I was doing cycle superhighway schemes in London, so the project engineer, project manager, building cycleways in central London. It was actually one of Boris Johnson's final schemes before he he took off and did some other stuff. But
one of few successful ones, so that was a good
yeah,
one.
very successful actually. Yeah, basically it was a 2-year job, and he asked us to do it in a year, and he threw a huge amount of work. So we're doing days and nights, and it was crazy. But it was an awesome little job. But it finished, and it was a 2-month gap, and so I got in touch with this original volunteers group, British organisation. They work in 20 countries around the world, but they had a project in Ghana doing building skills and teaching English and things like that. So I got in touch with them, got 2 months off unpaid, and did some volunteering over there. And I suppose it was a chance to dip my toes and see what I thought of it all. And it was, yeah, it was better than I imagined. And the only reason I came back probably to the UK was I had a girlfriend at the time in the UK, and she said I had to come back, so I came back. But I think I'd probably still be stuck there now. It was amazing as well, because you sort of went there as an engineer, as the idea just to volunteer, just be on the tools. But it became apparent I could actually help a bit more. So I ended up getting involved, designing water tanks, a little bit of work with the local chief, fixing up their roads, giving some ideas for the build of their roof. They had a lot of, I think Ghana got their independence in the late 40s. So in the 50s, they built all of these schools. And so by the time we came in, they were, whatever it was, 60, 70 years old, and hadn't been maintained. And so it was going and repairing these schools, these mud brick schools, and fixing the roofs. And then we ended up doing all these other projects, because I raised a bit of money on the side. And so that kind of gave me that nod that, yep, this is the one, this is for me. And the level of satisfaction on this work was so much higher than doing Boris's cycleways.
Well, I mean, you're right. I do get that. But the Boris Bikes, if anyone has been to London, they do help. They do. You did do some good work.
They do.
But I know what you mean. It's just that kind of sense of, I've done something really meaningful. You know, I've rebuilt these schools, and I've helped this community. Definitely can. I think all of us that have been involved in All Hands and Hearts can definitely understand how you were feeling there for that first
Absolutely
experience.
Those Boris Bikes for us were very much a situation on a Friday night. If you realised you'd had a few too many beers and you couldn't drive your car home, you leave your car home there and get your Boris Bike.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean,
we're helping somebody.
You need to get your your use of them after all your hard work, definitely. And then, would you say, Grant, though, it might seem like a silly question, but like my ponderance on it is, are there stark differences? Is there a big difference from working in the non-profit and the for-profit sectors? You know, obviously there's completely different work being done, but do you feel there's a difference in the types of roles that you're doing, or how you feel in the jobs?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, so, because I've sort of bounced back and forth, taken opportunities when I'm back in New Zealand, Australia, UK, to make a bit of money and hang out with family and stuff, and then go back to these sort of projects. What I've found the most is the sector as a whole, in the charity sector, is working together. So, for example, I know with Dominica, they had these cluster meetings when I was with the Red Cross, and I know All Hands were there as well. And very much you'd catch up on a Wednesday, and it was all about, all right, how can we help each other? China Aid here, they've got extra roof sheets. IOM, they've got extra timber, we've got extra nails. How can we work together? How can we share resources, share materials? We've got less funding, more funding, we've got more skills. Let's support each other to finish it as a whole. You know, there's no competition. What I've found coming back to New Zealand and the UK, obviously, it couldn't be further from the truth in terms of all the companies are working against each other. That is the nature of the commercial world, and it's fine, but it's a breath of fresh air working in the charity sector and having that kind of support from other organisations in the area, knowing that, you know, the greater good is far more important than efficiency or performance of one particular charity. So that's the main change. But in terms of, if you actually look at the work overall, like for the roles I've been in, when actually people to break it down, it's fairly simple, similar. You know, you're looking after the quality of the work and managing the quality of the work, health and safety on site, and health and safety on site is always the most important thing. Design change, that happens everywhere. You know, you've always got a plan, a design, but things do change, and so you're managing that process, because there's always, you know, what happens on site, you can never predict during the design phase when you're sitting in office. Things change. The environment, looking after the environment, which is important wherever you are, humanitarian work or otherwise. Program is always key. Program and cost, and so they sort of they should always sit lower than health and safety and the environment, but end of the day they're important in both aspects. Even if you're non-for-profit, you know, you still have to be working efficiently, because if you've got donors and you're just wasting that money, you know, they're not going to come and support you the next time around. So for-profit companies, commercial companies have to be profitable, obviously, to continue to be relevant, but non-for-profit still, I think it's important to stick to program, stick to cost, and, you know, make sure you are as efficient as possible, because you can't just be burning that money. And it's awesome as well, you know, when you've got those program and cost deadlines and that pressure, I think most people work in there, sort of, you're in your best space, you know, because you've got something to work to. if you just had an open-ended program and budget, I think it would spiral out of control. So it's good to have something to work towards, regardless of if it's for profit or not. So when you sort of break it down to the daily work, the context is different, what you're building, who you're helping, but I think the day-to-day is actually very similar, which is awesome. So it makes the skills even more transferable. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that was going to be my my comment on that, definitely. Like, so it doesn't really matter what your background is, and even if you have been working in the for-profit sector for a while and you're not sure how you can sort of make an impact in the non-profit space, the good news is probably everything you've been doing day to day is very, very relevant. It's just maybe about maybe the conditions are slightly different. You and I, we were
exactly what I was going to raise. Yeah, for any of the Nepali crew here who lived in a tent for 7-8 months, or to be fair to the Nepalis who've been living in the tents for years on end, it's you have to be a certain very stoic, tough, patient character to live in those conditions, as opposed to for example, New Zealand, different sort of story in the personal side.
You go back to your nice apartment, at the end of the day.
Picket fence, 9 to 5,
Definitely, but great. I think those are some really great contrasting ideas there. So, I mean, looking at that then, looking at applying engineering to the non-profit sector, would you appreciate putting you on the spot a bit, but like, if you were to give someone advice about, so if someone was studying engineering, if we had some engineering students on the call just now, or someone who has an engineering degree and they want to get into the non-profit sector, would you have some key pieces of advice for them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from the conversations I had when I was sort of looking to move across, it seemed to be sort of the two avenues were study, like postgraduate study, and or like the volunteering. So more from the practical side or the theoretical side. There's obviously other avenues or working for a company that works in maybe in the developed world that also has projects in the developing world. But for me, based on my engineering degree, it seemed that there was sort of two options. One, obviously, financially more worse than the other one. So the idea for me, I've sort of done my 4 years of study and worked for 6-7 years. So I wasn't too keen really on going back to school. It didn't suit me personally, but so I decided to go more so for the getting practical skills and learning, as people do, for example, when they do internships, and then those internships turn into roles. So doing the volunteering, so Ghana, and then get in touch with Red Cross and Dominica, and then get in touch with CAFOD and doing some work in South Sudan. It was just sending, I was just a massive emails. This is me, here's my CV, I'm available. Who wants to take me on? Who's keen? I'll get myself there, I'll turn up. And I think, for me, just getting those practical skills, obviously, financially, small hit financially to get yourself there and get things moving. But I'd sort of done my studies, and that was the option for me in some cases. Like a lot of jobs, as we know now, there's like a prerequisite to have a master's degree or higher. So if that is the case, and so be it. But for sort of the work I've been doing generally, a bachelor's degree was sufficient, and it made sense for me to get out there and just learn on the job and sort of go via that avenue. So it's just weighing up your options really, depending on the sort of work you want to do. Because it's not just engineers in the humanitarian sector, maybe people with finance backgrounds shifting across, HR, whatever it might be. So that's the two avenues I think it's worthwhile looking into. In the current climate, obviously the volunteering space is a bit more difficult. In some cases, maybe this is a really good opportunity for people to study. A very safe thing to do. That's I think the two ways I would look at it. All Hands on Heart is obviously an awesome opportunity to do your volunteering. You can move through the TL process and up, but there's other awesome charities out there as well. But I think that's one of the reasons why All Hands has been so successful, is that availability of opportunity, as opposed, like the Red Cross, I was knocking on their door for a long time. I was getting in touch with, when there was after Hurricane Maria in 2017, I was sending messages to all of the Red Cross groups throughout the Caribbean. Ended up getting in touch with Dominica, which was actually not a very difficult country to get to from where I was at the time. But eventually just got there. It was a process of just, sending a very wide blanket of proposals and eventually getting a hit. But you just got to keep on it, keep pushing, keep trying, keep asking, and it did come about.
Amazing. So keep knocking on doors, find out what's out there available for you. Maybe at the moment it's about seeing what's available locally or kind of virtually, and then when the world opens up again, don't be afraid to knock on doors. And I think you're right. I mean, there are, the Red Cross, such an impressive organization, but anytime I've certainly tried to look into a job, it's very much, we need X, Y, and Z experience, or please come and work with us in a different capacity for a few years until, you know, you get some field experience. So yeah, I guess you're so right about trying and find places that will give you that field experience. Maybe you have to work, you know, as a volunteer to get that experience. I think that's really, really good advice.
Yeah, it seems to be, for example, the Red Cross, I know their preference is, for example, to work for their national body. So you'd find wherever you're from, you do some work for the national body, some volunteering, and then you transfer to those projects as opposed to turning up in country. So it's a different way to go about it. And just, I suppose, on that one as well, in terms of looking for opportunities, the websites I've seen which have the most opportunity, Relief Web is very good, DevX and DevNet. Those three are very good. If you were to search now for opportunities, you'd find that the research results are the lowest I've ever seen, as opposed to 12 months ago. So you have to be patient and realistic with what's out there at the moment for obvious reasons. But generally, yeah, Relief Web in particular has got a huge amount of information, not only about disasters that are happening and international development as a whole, but particularly they've got all the opportunities there as well. And you find it's all centered there. There's a huge amount of information. So it's a really good website to use.
Amazing. And what we'll do as well, guys, just for everybody listening, obviously Grant's saying there, DevX and Relief Web, but we'll make sure that we hit you guys up with like a resource, a little bit of information about all the things that Grant's talked about, just in case you want to find out more. We will send those as a kind of follow-up email for you all, so you guys can have a little look at that. So thank you so much, Grant. And I kind of wanted to touch on, yeah, I mean, say people are, you know, they're doing the search, they're on Relief Web and they find some cool sounding organizations. Do you have some input on, you know, what they should maybe be looking for in an organization? You know, what should they, if they're looking around and thinking about which humanitarian organization to work with, what would be your thoughts on what they should look for in a good opportunity?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Like, I think, like for my situation, what you'll always see at the bottom, what you see sort of two things particularly that jump out for me. It's easy to just sort of play process of elimination. They often ask for languages. In my case, as an English speaker only, process of elimination, there's only certain roles I can apply for. But it becomes a sort of a chicken or egg type situation, because they always want a certain amount of experience, and it's not just experience in that particular role in where you're from, but in the international development space, which makes it difficult. But for me, it was sort of get that construction experience, the engineering experience, and transfer those skills. And eventually, any day, you just need to get a bit of a foot in the door. So it's difficult because you need the international experience to get the role, but you know how to get that first role, and it goes back to that things we were talking about before about, you know, continued tertiary education and/or volunteering internships. You can get that experience. But yeah, this like long-term opportunities is probably a good one as well, particularly if you're going to pack up your bags and move a long way from home. Yeah, you see a lot of roles that have got whatever it is, 6 months, 12 months, 24-month roles, fixed roles. It generally seems to be fixed contract work. So just, I think it's sort of something that's probably hasn't worked in my favor in some cases as well. So taking on shorter term roles, and then you do it, it's fantastic. You do 3-6 months, and then it's sort of what's next at the end, as opposed to looking for longer term roles. So there's a lessons learned from my side to be looking for long-term roles that are a bit more sustainable for your career. You know, most of the roles back here in New Zealand, for example, in the UK, you're looking at something a bit more longer term. You can plan your life around it. These roles are a bit more difficult. It's interesting as well, because a lot of companies, for good or bad, a lot of the international development companies, as you'll see when you apply for the roles, are faith-based. And so you kind of see that as well. So, I mean, generally, I think it's just that your values are in line with the faith, as opposed to being a more, you know, openly or like heavily involved in the particular the faith that they're. For example, World Vision, who are a Christian-based organisation, but it's important to look at that as well and see how that's going to fit in with you and your life as well. Yeah, I mean, I think in all these cases, it's always good to, you know, put your applications in, get the feedback, have the interviews, and go from there. You know, you can always just use that interview as a learning experience and gather information. You don't have to actually commit in any case. And because it is a very popular industry, it's best just to, you know, put out a wide umbrella, I think, and see what hits you get and go from there, because unfortunately you can't be too picky at the start, so
exactly. Yeah, you want to get that foot on the ladder, definitely. 100%. And I thought it might be cute. I was looking through our YouTube videos that we shot, and I hadn't realised you had actually featured in one of our Mozambique program videos.
Oh,
I
nice.
just want to just share that. I'm going to see
Fantastic.
how my my technical skills are here, so I will.
Let's see how this goes, eh?
How this goes. I'm going to see if I can. Can I share my screen? This is
the video where they had to put subtitles because no one could understand.
Well, as a Scot, nobody understands me either. But I've got to be. I'm going to be fully transparent here with everybody and actually say that I don't know how to share my screen on Zoom. Anybody in the comments? I'm on the normal web. I feel like that's something I could have looked at before. Video settings. Oh, share screen. There's a huge big button that says share screen. That's really annoying. That's embarrassing. Now we want to get my little window. Sorry guys, I built this up as a whole thing, and now can I? This is when you're like, this is why I should never have been an IT person. Right. Okay.
So you click on share screen and then it gives you the options of which ones you want to share.
Giving me the problem is I thought I was being smart, and I opened a window fresh, but it doesn't seem to be recognizing that window. So let me just.
We have faith.
I would just like to open a tab. Okay, you know what we'll just do. I'll just do it the old school way. We'll have to be. We'll do it this way. Okay. This is me being outed. Okay, share the screen.
Oh, here we go.
Can we see it? Are we seeing this YouTube video? Is this
I'm seeing it.
happening? Okay. No, I don't know how loud it's going to be is the problem. I don't want to blow all your ears off. Is this loud? I'll make this big.
Plan for today, volunteers and staff wake up nice and early, 5:45, 5:30 in the morning, have a bit of breakfast, and then pile up everyone to the vehicles. At Alumni School, just yesterday we concreted our last primary post. That's for the second plot of the mixed material design building. That's the last one in place. That's the primary structure complete. We've found one of the issues there is stagnant water at the back end of the water well. So we're building a natural board sump filter to run that water down into the ground and below the water table. Already we've encountered some flooding, some storms and rain and whatnot, but we're pushing through. As the locals say, no tem problema, no big problem. Volunteer intensive work in this project very much is hammer and nails. I think on this project we've got 35,000 nails that need to go in for the two schools. Here we go.
Oh, how was that? Did that bring back some nice memories?
Is there anything more cringe than hearing your own voice? I don't think so.
You were fine. I noticed you on the video. You were fine until you saw your own face, and then that's when.
Fernand, that is recorded.
Oh my gosh! Sorry, guys. That's me on the old YouTube.
Well, hi everyone.
Sorry, guys. Oh gosh, I'm going to get sad.
So much Siobhan happening right now. Eh?
Sorry, that's me. That's just me being a technical The one thing I will say though is I got to see when I went on the YouTube, I got to see that everyone's actually got their cameras on. So hello guys, I hadn't noticed that you guys were all there. That was really cool. But yes, so how was that? Did that bring back some nice program Mozambique memories?
Amazing time, yeah.
Good
Amazing.
people, good work. I guess
building in the wet season in Mozambique, easy job.
I was going to say one of our more challenging programs for sure. And 35,000 nails. That's no small.
We broke about half of those.
But I guess part of showing that, you know, a trip down memory lane, but also you know, I'm sort of interested to hear how you would suggest, so an engineering graduate or someone from that sort of field, a field of study, how would you say they could kind of make the most of their time on program? We've sort of talked about already, you know, join an NGO, join something that has long-term opportunities. Like if you were to combine both of your, you know, your passions and your experience, what advice would you give someone that might want to use their time on All Hands and Hearts to try and further their, you know, their advancement in the engineering space?
We've had people like, I know in Nepal we had a Dutch girl, an architect, turn up and had show interest in designing the playground. So we got involved in that. So there's kind of a technical expertise there. We had a Greek landscape architect help us with the landscape architecture in the school there. In Mozambique, we had a Portuguese architect get involved in the design of the playground there. We had, in this case, sometimes tradies, builders, plumbers, whatever it might be, get involved as TLs. More so for that was more a benefit to us. Obviously, an awesome opportunity for themselves. Other architects, engineers, whatever it might be, take on TL roles as opposed to getting, you know, upskilling technically and helping with the design. It was more so just building some leadership skills on site. So sort of the two facets that just get involved with really. You turn up to project, you see what's left. I think it's very much an open book. There's a playground to build. For example, I think the playground they did, the boat that they did in Mexico, the recent Mexico project, you know, volunteer turned up, an engineer, let's get involved, do you want to do this? Absolutely, just pick up your skills. There's so many opportunities, and it's not like it's a fixed scope, and that it would be, you know, for example, the project I'm doing in New Zealand on this bridge project, if I said, oh, can I do something on the side, mate? Can I do a little playground? You know, they would tell me where to go. But these opportunities we've got for these skills, there's always a little bit of funding that can be found, and ways we can sort of tinker with the design, and people can get involved. So get involved either technically or in the TL roles, because the TL roles is an awesome sort of intro, isn't it, to potential coordination roles in construction on All Hands or somewhere else. And I know that there's been people since those projects in Nepal and Mozambique have asked for references because they've used the TL role in their CVs, as they obviously should, because it's a fantastic opportunity to show you've, in pretty interesting conditions, you've shown leadership and take on a team and learn some skills. And Samantha, for example, from Nepal, I know she's involved in leadership on working in camps and outdoor programs in the UK. And one of the key areas that she had spoken to, and one of the aspects that helped to get the job was that leadership on site. And so she used it. I did a reference for her, and it was, you can imagine if you can go about and lead a team of 10 on in some cases for people who've never worked in construction before, if you can do that in pretty tough conditions, then you know, going back to the role that you're applying for is probably fairly straightforward in comparison. So yeah, just get involved on site, get involved in the design, whatever it might be, propose ideas out of the box, have a go at it. You know, more often than not, we'll be up for it, I think. So
definitely, yeah. Just to reiterate that for anyone on the call, obviously we do have restrictions, we do have funding restrictions, but where we can, if you think that there's a good idea, as long as it's within the realms of the program, and you think that you could lend some advice, especially from the design side of things. I know a lot of people helped us, you know, architects, etc., who have experience designing things. Really key kind of people to have on program, because they really assist people. So definitely, there's never any harm in asking. Obviously, we can definitely agree that would be a thing we can do, but you should always feel free on program to approach the team with any ideas that you have. and they will be considered for you. So thank you so much for that, Grant. I think what we'll do is just move to questions. I'm conscious of time. So what we'll do is maybe, is there any questions from anyone? Because we do have questions already submitted, but Grant's already aware of them. So we might just get back to those people individually. But is there anybody on the call just now? Either you want to come off mute, speak to Grant directly, or use the chat. Has anybody got like a burning question or something that they want to find out from Grant live just now? We're all being shy, or we're maybe just waiting for it. We do have these other questions. I'll just check through.
I can, I don't know, can you hear me at all? It's Mike here.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hey everyone, hey Grant, hope you're well.
Good.
Hello there.
Oh, yeah, I did have a question. A few of them. One, why did you leave? No, that's not a real question. So I guess one, I just want to say thank you, because I know when we, I think, first spoke, you were surfing somewhere in South America, Central America, and then we hired you for Nepal and said, we have a small problem in Mexico, do you mind helping us? And then for a month you popped to a project in Mexico, put together a drainage solution for a school, and then left again. And you know, that impact, that school was absolutely massive on top of everything else you did. And then in the last few weeks, you've been helping us in the Philippines, equally just, you know, in your own time, fixing a problem again with drainage at a school, which they've just had a typhoon come through in a school that has historically flooded. We've seen no flooding issues with a massive typhoon. So yeah, thank you, not just for the work that you did on the program, but also in the background, the mountain of work that you've been doing for us.
Not a problem. It's been a pleasure.
And then,
absolute pleasure.
I hope so. And yeah, the question I had really was just from, I guess, an all hands perspective and from your technical experience and work elsewhere, if you could change anything about our work from a technical side, what would you look to change?
From a technical side or anything, any aspects?
I mean, as open as you'd like it to be. What I think from a technical side, and also from I guess a site management, program management perspective, from the work you've been doing, if you could bring in any experience or I think work that you've seen from your other side of the work you've done, what would you like to see come into all hands?
I think technically it's pretty exceptional, actually, the skills that come on board. I know, like, for example, here where I'm working, we've got a contractor and we have a client and we have a designer. And so there's sort of a process to make sure that everyone's checking on each other. The designers check on the clients check on us, vice versa. But I think what you've got in all hands is by bringing just a wealth of experience on board, you kind of just indirectly and internally checking each other's work, you know, by bringing all of that knowledge and skills on board. There's kind of that internal verification, you know, you check each other's design, you come to each other's schools and projects and going through the designs and stuff and always sharing ideas, and communication is happening. You know, you have meetings every day and catch ups all the time. So I think internally the level of expertise and the quality of the work is amazing. So I wouldn't really have much to fault on that side. And I think that the key driver is just getting that expertise and having, you know, Dennis and yourself and all these people supporting. The only thing I suppose from my side to the programs would just be, you know, sustainability, isn't it? It's just trying to find ways that you can stay longer term on projects. I know, for example, a lot of the other charities we're looking at, they look at sort of 12-month, 24-month, 36-month opportunities, don't they? And I know it's difficult in the all hands sort of space, the sort of the work we do, but I think it'd be in terms of finding ways to make it more sustainable, such that people are interested in staying longer term. And as I said, it is difficult, and we're working in places where there's wet season and dry season, all of these things, and the setup of the base with volunteers and stuff makes it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, it would just be, that would be the one thing for me, and probably like a driver to you know, like for example, if you pack up your bags and moving something, if you know it's for a longer period of time, you can set yourself up there and make it a bit of a, you know, essentially make it a home as opposed to a temporary location. That'd be the only real change. I mean, but yeah, but on the technical side, I think it's exceptional all the work that's done.
Did that answer your question, Mike? Is that?
It did, yeah. It's exactly what I told him to say. We've got it perfect. So
Well,
thank you for that, Grant.
Checks in the
there's an interesting note actually that came in, a question here about Ghana possibly from a Ghanaian, I'm not really sure, but yeah, I suppose for me, as my first experience, the two things that I found about Ghana were amazing, and the sort of two stories I've got for Ghana were, we drove past one day, there was a lad, he was selling oranges, and he had 7 oranges, and we bought one, we took off for 8 hours, we worked, we came back at the end of the day, and he had 5 oranges, that was it. So in the entire day, 8-9 hours, he'd sold 1 orange. And for my side, I was thinking, oh, you know, like tough day at the office. And he said, no, this is awesome. I've been sitting here talking to people, relaxing. I babysitted someone's baby for 3 hours, went off for lunch, I came back. I looked after some other guy who he was selling phone cards. I sold them for a bit. It's been a great day. And I learned like the patience and the relaxed nature of Ghanaians. And another story is we used to sit on the back of the material trucks every day to get to work, whether it was rebar or cement or sand. We'd sit on the truck, and that was our way to get to site. And obviously, it's not, I've had conversations with Johnny about this one before as well, in terms of if this is safe or not. But anyway, that's the way it was in Ghana. And where today we said, what we have for lunch, let's have a goat for lunch. We picked up a goat, we put on the back of the truck, and we're driving. The driver was going so furiously and dangerously on the road. We didn't realise that somewhere along the road, the goat must have fallen off. So by the time we got to our site, there was no goat, there was no lunch. And but all the Ghanaians were just relaxed, said, oh, it is what it is, whatever. Someone's going to get our free lunch, no problem. So like, through these experiences, another experience, I realised just that for Ghana, it was a special place for me because it was the first opportunity to work in this field. But it was what stuck out for me was the super relaxed, patient, flexible ways of the Ghanaians. And I found it incredibly safe as well. We had a lot of our young solo female volunteers as well, going off to the city, going off into the mountains, traveling on their own. And there was nothing but positive reviews about Ghana. And obviously this is the case for various other places as well. So I've only got the highest regard for Ghana as a whole. I think it very much is it's a bit of a beacon of hope for a lot of African countries, the way that Ghana's gone about it. They've had their problems post-independence, but I think they've really found a groove now, and they've had the democracy. You can see there's a safe transfer of hands if it goes from party to party, possibly more so than what we'll see in the US. We shall see, but it's a real beacon of hope, I think, in Africa, Ghana, which is amazing.
Amazing. Oh, so good. I know it just teaches you so much, doesn't it? Learning about another culture just teaches you so much about yourself, and definitely some good skills. Well, we are almost at time, Grant. So the last thing I did just want to check with you, like what's next for you? Are you staying where you are? Have you got grand plans? I know Mike's obviously trying to coach you straight back to all hands, but have you got some plan? You're going to stick to the lecturing for now, or?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It's probably a lot of people all around the globe are sort of asking themselves the same. And you kind of want to write off 2020 as a bad year, but it seems that 2021 may be equally as difficult. So yeah, just working away for a roads contractor for now. It's not a long-term plan, but it's keeping me busy. It's keeping the money coming in. I can hang out with my family. But yeah, longer term, I'd love to get back into the development space in some capacity. Sometimes I sort of think I've never actually spent much time in the islands, the Pacific, which is it'd be close to home, but also that kind of sector. So I've definitely had one eye on what's happening in the Pacific. Right now, there's no access from New Zealand. New Zealand's basically just closed off to the world, which has its benefits. But yeah, I'm keeping an eye on what's happening there. Every now and then I do message Mike, see what's happening there. So yeah, just keeping up an eye open. But certainly the long-term plan is to stay in development, whether it's the tertiary side, lecturing. Ideally, probably for me, would be back in the field, building stuff. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, you already know this, but you are welcome back with open arms. However, you may want to stay connected with All Hands and Hearts. So what we'll be doing, guys, I have put a note in the chat. This has been recorded. We will send you the recorded in case there was something interesting Grant was saying and you want to rewatch that, or just check out our awesome faces, who knows. But we will send you that recording, and I'll also put together a resource sheet just with some links of things that Grant's talked about, and there was a couple of questions that we didn't get to, so we'll make sure those get answered. And I've just put a link in there to the Alumni Network. We are doing events like this all throughout the year. It's my full-time job to make sure that there's things there for you guys to stay connected, stay engaged, and help each other learn. So if you're not already signed up there, if you've joined us on a program, do click that link, allhandsandheartsalumni.org, sign up. I would love to see you there, and we let everybody know what's coming down the line. And if you've enjoyed today's webinar, we're going to be doing this quarterly. So the next one's in February. We'd love to see you there. And then coming up, if you are thinking about advancing your career, or if you were thinking, wow, Grant's great, it would be great to chat to him. We have over 61,000 people that have came and volunteered with us. So we have a massive, massive community of people. We are running a alumni speed networking event on November 23rd. What I'll do is I'll pop that in the chat. You guys can sign up if you want to, but I'll send this out on the resource. But do feel free to sign up to that. We're going to all be on Zoom, and we're going to have a speed networking event, a chance for everybody to get to know each other a bit better and maybe see maybe who you can have connected to All Hands. Keep someone in your back pocket for a networking thing, for a resume builder. You know, as Grant says, he's helped people that he worked with on programs before. So it's a great, great community to utilize and think about how you can get ahead in your career. So thank you very much to Grant for appearing on this. This was really, really fascinating, really enjoyable. Thank you to you guys for coming, and especially our friends in the US for stepping away from that election. Wish you guys all the best in the election. And yeah, as I said earlier, do reach out to me for any further assistance you might need, whether that's career development, connecting you to someone, you want more updates about programs, please reach out to me and come back and join us in the webinar on in February. We'll be letting you guys know about it. Alrighty, so thank you so much, Grant. Anything else to say just as we sign off?
Nah, yeah, everyone just stay safe. And yes, I really enjoyed to talk to you, Siobhan, and everybody else. Good fun. Better go back to work now, eh? Build some roads.
Keep going. Oh, there we go. Thank you all for organising. Oh, lovely. You're welcome, Justin. So thank you so much, guys. I will send you the recording and we'll be in touch. You take care. Have a good day, Grant.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Bye.